everyone, welcome back to the Miraculous Mamas podcast. I'm your host, Elizabeth Joy, and we believe in empowering people through storytelling and education. And I'm so glad that you are here. I hope you took the time to listen to last week's episode with Dr. Stu on breech birth. It was awesome. I love having conversations like that because there's just so much misinformation and information left out of these conversations. Like, you're just kind of told, oh, you have a breech birth or a breech baby. You have no options. You have to get a C-section. It's extremely dangerous, all these different things. But when you actually look at the numbers, the statistics, what other high-income nations are doing, and you see the truth. And that's where we have to begin to fight back for our rights in labor and delivery and birth, and to have options. It's really, really frustrating when you're left with zero options and you have no choice. And that can be really, really frustrating and traumatizing for mamas as well. I have to apologize for how I sound, guys. I'm so sorry. I feel like we've been fighting off a cold for over a month now. I rarely get sick. I get seasonal allergies. Then like every winter I'll get maybe a little cough for like a few days and then it goes away. And every spring/summer I get the same thing. And this year it's been just like up and down for over a month. And I got better and then we got sick again with the C word. So that's been fun, which I'll share more of that a little bit maybe next week because we're still navigating through it all right now. But yeah, I know that I sound horrible. I don't really feel horrible at night. Sleeping's really rough because I can't breathe. But other than that, I feel fine. So just trying to get some fresh air and move around, not lay around all day. So, we've been watching Frozen. It's funny because this week my husband and I were talking about how neither of us have ever bought a TV before. Wherever we lived, there always was one. And then the TV that we had when we got married was a hand-me-down. And we were like bragging how we've never had to buy a TV. And then our TV went out. And then we got COVID. So we've been stuck in the house with no TV, which is good. I feel like it's made us be creative, and do some other things. Maybe not just lay on the couch and watch TV all day. But anyways, yeah, it's been interesting. Like I said, I'll share more maybe next week on it. This week I have the Spirit Mamas on the podcast. I have Victoria and Tiffany on, and it's going to be a little bit different. We're going to learn about some new stuff. We're going to learn about sound healing and Reiki and just alternative paths that people take to find healing, to find peace, to connect and whatever they're looking for. There's definitely no one road for all. And so I love what they're bringing. They're creating a community of just loving, beautiful, energetic beings and sharing their gifts and teaching us about it and telling us about it. So we're going to go ahead and dive right in.
All right, everyone. I'm excited for today's podcast. We're going to talk about something that we've never talked about on here before with the Spirit Mamas. I have Victoria and Tiffany with me, and their mission is to uplift spiritually conscious mamas, helping them trust their intuition and power with ceremonial circles, energy work, rituals, and magic, which I'm super excited to hear more about that. So I'm excited to be joined by them today and the work that they're doing, that they're passionate about in this community. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you so much for having us, Elizabeth. I'm so excited to meet all the miraculous mamas.
Yeah. So I would love for you guys to kind of start with how did you come up with, you guys call yourself the Spirit Mamas and have created a community around that. So what does that mean and how did you kind of come to this place?
Hi, everyone. So I am Tiffany, part of Spirit Mamas, the other half. And I am a mom to 2 lovely boys. I have Logan, who's 11, and then we have Lennox, who is 2. So a huge gap. But I will say that being their mom is like the best gift that I've ever received. And it really helped us come up with Spirit Mamas. So being a mom, especially a conscious mom, where you're really trying to make sure you raise your kids on a high vibration, I will say was part of it, but also the fact that as a mom, you're always giving, and you don't want to give from an empty cup. So how do we do that? And the way we do that is by teaching mamas how to pour into themselves first. So that is like a gist of how Spirit Mamas came to be, just talking with Victoria about how do we become the best moms that we can be to these beautiful humans. And we had to realize that we have to put ourselves first. But I'm sure Victoria would love to add a little bit more to that.
Hi, listeners. I'm Victoria. I'm just over here laughing because before becoming a mom, if you had told me that I would have a business called Spirit Mamas, I would have just laughed in your face and been like, no way. And it really, motherhood is what brought this about. Exactly like Tiffany said, it was a rebirth for me after becoming a mom to my almost 2-year-old Sebastian. And I'm now pregnant with our second. And it just completely shifted my mindset, my perspective. Tiffany and I still work in the corporate world, but all of a sudden it was like, that doesn't matter. I want to have a flexible schedule. I want to feel good. I want to help other mamas feel good because I finally realized that I was a part of this amazing club, right? Momhood is such an amazing club that you are initiated into almost like trial by fire. And I was Googling everything, or I was asking Tiffany or other mom friends, and I realized that I was looking outside of myself for all of these answers. And that's when Tiffany and I realized that the energy work that we were doing personally, meditation, breath work, things like that, we could help other moms do and realize that they have all the answers and that they have all the power for their own families, right? Because what works for me and my family may not work for you and your family. And you should do exactly what's right for your family, no matter what society or the mom blogs or whatever are telling you. So that's really kind of how we got started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. And I love that you talk about a lot of different areas. Cause like you said, some things that might not work for others work for other people. And I feel like that also is important to understand in this motherhood club is that we're not all doing it the same way, and that's okay. And so I love that you guys talk about the intuition part, because that's something that I'm trying to really lean into, especially with my second. So I know with my first, being a birth doula, I knew so much about birth. I was so prepared for my birth to go anyway, because this is what I do. So, but once you get a new baby, I'm like, now what? And there's so many packages sold to moms. And I just found myself taking course after course of infant sleep, of infant schedules, of infant, even breastfeeding. I had taken a breastfeeding course a long time ago, because also that's part of my job as a birth doula. After you give birth, I help with the initial latching, making sure I know the positions and whatever. But I wasn't leaving room for myself. I would end up taking a course and being like, yeah, I don't agree with that. It just kind of being like, I don't think that's going to work for me. So then I would take another one instead of just kind of learning how to tune in and tap in and be like, okay, what is my baby telling me? What is my intuition telling me? And so I know that with the second one, because I already feel like I forgot how to take care of a newborn, even though my daughter's only 15 months. They're going to be 18 months apart. They're going to be really close in age. And I'm like, I just did this. I forgot it all. I have no idea what to do with a newborn. I'm sure it will come back to me. But just not stressing out about that. Just really trying to, instead of being on a rigid schedule or being like, oh, I got to feed every 3 hours and then I got to whatever, being like, okay, what's my baby signaling to me? What do I feel that they need from me? And so that's something that I'm trying to learn how to trust and tap into, because I feel like once you join this motherhood club, it's just like you need to train them this way and train them that way, and here's right and wrong for this, and it's like those don't exist.
No, and everyone has an opinion.
Yeah. I love that you said that, Elizabeth, because I was like you. My first child, it was like, Google, what does this mom say? What does this friend say? And I will say with baby number 2, I'm just flowing, and I realize like he tells me what he wants. Like if I try to make him like, well, you're going to bed at 7. Okay, it may work, but he'll be up in an hour. That's not what his body needed. And that's not what, and it's so interesting. But this second time around, even with potty training this time, I'm like, okay, like I have one. You won't be in a diaper forever, right? But it's like, he's also showing me, and we had this amazing experience the other night at like 2 a.m. But it happened. The number 2 happened in the potty at 2 a.m.
Oh, wow.
First time. And we were there for an hour and 30 minutes. I know, TMI. But I was like, see, and I was the one that was like, sit here. And I even asked Victoria, right? I'm like, I forgot how to do all this. What are you doing? Like, how do we do it? And the first time I went with Victoria's method, which was like, no undies, no nothing, there was crap on my floor. And what y'all don't know about me is I'm like OCD. I was like, wait, what's happening? I was like, oh my God. So I was like, I don't know if I can do this. Thank God we have hardwood floors. But on Saturday, 2 a.m., it happened. He led me to the potty. I was like, yay! But it goes back to just listening to my gut, also listening to his what is he saying, and just letting it flow. Which is hard sometimes.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break from this episode because we all know that we are what we eat, and we also know how hard it is to plan and prep each meal each week. I know I get decision fatigue. It's like making breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day. And Splendid Spoon will send you plant-based, gluten-free, ready-made meals delivered right to your door. And it saves you a trip to the grocery store, as well as having to buy specialty ingredients that can add up. We recently tried them, and I was a really big fan. I'm going to share with you my favorite meals of theirs in just a minute. But Splendid Spoon believes in plant-based eating as the single most effective tool that we have to feel our best day in and day out. And when you make a habit out of plant-based eating, it allows you to get the best version of yourself with side benefits like more energy, weight loss, improved sleep, and better skin. I loved their vegan meatballs and marinara. That was one of my favorites, along with the tomato, quinoa, and chili soup. It's also really nice to have the prepackaged smoothies. We're big smoothie fans, and it's just like a quick and easy snack that's already made. Easy for me to give Jovi some of it, and I can have some, and we can just get a little boost in our day and know that we are putting something healthy into our bodies. You can get started and save $35 on your first order of delicious plant-based meals at splendidspoon.com/mamas35. That's splendidspoon.com/mamas35 to save $35 on your first order. That's only $6.66 per meal. Thank you, Splendid Spoon, for sponsoring this podcast.
Like you're saying, Victoria, everyone has opinions, and I've realized that that's been so hard as well because you get so much unsolicited advice. And when you aren't doing it a certain way, like, because my daughter didn't start sleeping through the night until about 13 months. She just randomly started doing it. But so many people told me, like, leading up to that, like, well, you need to do this. Oh, she's still waking up. She's almost a year and she's still getting up 2 times to nurse, like, whatever, like, and I'm like, this is working for us. Okay. Like, but am I allowed to still complain that I'm tired? Yes. Like, yes, I'm tired, but does that mean that I want to sleep train my daughter? No. So it's hard because there's like that line there of it's hard. And so you want to be able to vent to other moms, but then everybody's giving you advice. And I think that there's probably a good way to do it in love. Or, you know, the people closest to you being like, do you want me to share something that worked for us? or whatever. I'm not sure the right wording because I feel like I haven't really heard much of it. But it's like hard when you're like, I'm exhausted. And they're like, yeah, because your kid's not sleeping through the night because you're not doing this.
And you're like, shut up.
Yeah.
That's why I think at Spirit Mamas, the term we called it is holding space. We like to hold space for you as a mom and give you the toolkit. We'll share what's worked for us, but we're not going to beat you over the head with this is exactly what you have to do. Any of the women we work with one-on-one have completely customized plans of breath work, of meditation, of how often they come to us for counsel and guidance, or just to have someone to vent and chat with. And our community is great for that. We have this amazing group chat where all the moms share what they're going through on a personal and mom level, because you're more than just a mom, right? You're a multidimensional being that has a lot of facets that should be acknowledged. So you can come to our groups and yes, talk about mom life and those struggles, but you can also talk about the stuff that your kid is bringing up, because your kid is here to teach you something and to help heal you in a certain way. I truly believe that. And so that's not easy either, right? Like it can be really triggering that they're up twice a night or that they're crying and you're then having to face this thing that you didn't realize was an issue, that you're like, wow, okay, my mom dealt with me crying in this way. So now my reaction is this. And you get to choose, like, do you continue that cycle or do you do something different? And those that do something different are really courageous because it's not easy. And so a lot of that personal inner child work, I think all of the community right now is doing some deep inner child work, myself included. And it's just a revelation what these relationships with our kids can show us about ourselves too, right?
Yeah, I 1,000% agree with that. I feel like your kids are little mirrors walking around, because after I had my daughter, I had this anger come up in me that I didn't know was there. And I never I wouldn't scream at her or I didn't have an outlet for it, but I would just feel it in me, like just the rage of different things. And I realized it's not her. She doesn't make me angry. She's amazing. It's my own stuff. It's the things being triggered in me when I'm sleep deprived, when my body's healing through these hormones, when you're realizing oh, my husband has to go back to work. I'm here with a baby alone. I don't know what I'm doing. My nipples hurt, my vagina's healing. I don't know what to do. And you have these things come up and you have to, it's good to have these conversations, because I think that there's conversations obviously around postpartum are super important, but also having conversations where you talk about that's a time to lean in and reflect. It's not just, oh, my hormones are all over the place. And it's okay, but what is it telling you?
The anger is so real. Let me tell you, that's where I'm at right now. I didn't realize I had so much anger. But it's helped my relationship with my husband too. I'm learning that, I revert to a 7-year-old when it comes to communication. If I'm hungry, tired, or it comes back to the basic necessities, right? You have to stop and be okay, am I tired? Do I need to eat? Do I need a nap? What do I need? Because I don't feel really good in this moment. So I think just checking in with yourself is not always easy to do, but it's really important, because like Tiffany said in the beginning, if you're not pouring into your own cup, how can you pour into anyone else? You're not going to be able to.
Yeah, no, for sure. I get that way too. I'm I am a child right now. So I'd love to talk about kind of your specialties. So Tiffany, you're a certified Reiki energy healer. And I'd love to kind of talk about that, because I had it done once. My friend also does Reiki. And I found it very interesting that she mentioned my hips a lot. I store a lot in my hips. And that was my problem area giving birth. All the things I normally do as a doula, I had a doula at my birth. She was doing everything. We were in every position. And all my pain was inside my hips, shooting down the inside of my legs. And I still know that I carry so much in my hips. And when she mentioned that during the Reiki thing, I was yeah, that sounds about right. So, but I've only had that one experience. So what exactly is Reiki energy healing, and how does that help people?
Yes. So I am a certified Reiki master. I call myself a master at this point because I've been doing it for a while now. But Reiki is really comes from a place of pure love. But basically what I do is with my hands and symbols, I move your energy around to align your chakras. So the way I like to describe it, and it goes back to your hips hurting, is if you aren't aligned on the physical, or if you aren't aligned on the spiritual, you will never be aligned on the physical. So a lot of times if you get in a car accident, you go to the chiropractor, you feel better, then you find yourself, most of us find ourselves going back to that chiropractor within a year or so because our neck starts hurting again. So what I'm doing is I'm aligning you on a spiritual level. I'm making sure all of your chakras, which align to certain parts of your body, hips would be your root, your sacral, and then I'm making sure that they're aligned so that on the physical, you feel a lot better. So I call my participants in. We do, I'm also an intuitive. So when you come to me for an hour session, you'll get intuitive counsel. So I'll call in your guides, your angels, whatever messages need to come through. Through that work, I'm also able to tap into exactly where I need to hone in on when I go to your chakras. You lay on my massage table, and then I will touch your different chakras with my energy from my hands and move that around. And so a lot of times what happens is I'll leave you with soul work. And so it may be some affirmations, it may be a spiritual bath, whatever comes up during that session. And usually I swear within 24 to 48 hours, I have women, moms who call me and they're like, how did you do that? You know, I was struggling with my husband, or I was struggling with getting this job. And like within 24 hours, I got a job offer. I have this interview. Me and my husband are going on this like retreat or date together. And it's just like, it's nothing that I'm truly doing. I'm allowing you to tap into your magic, right? And so I like to say that, yes, I'm using Reiki energy to move things around, but really I'm reminding you of the power that you hold within. I'm just clearing the space so that you can manifest exactly what you want and need in your life. I'm also a sound healer. And so with those Reiki sessions, I also will play crystal sound bowls and chimes and things of that nature, just to make sure that the energy is flowing throughout the room and your space. But I love Reiki. I never thought I would be a Reiki energy healer. I would just go get it done every month because that was the thing that I did for myself as a mom. And then Spirit spoke to me one day and was like, no, this is your gift. You're a healer. You need to help other people, you know, unlock their magic. And so for the last 4.5 years, that's what I've been doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so interesting. I feel like it's probably one of those things too that some people have a lot of resistance to, or thinking that it's like there's an evil aspect to it.
Yeah. So I will tell you, I grew up in the church as a Christian. I'm not really into religion right now because I know that it's just God, the universe. We're all on different paths to the same place. But when I first started, I was like, okay, like, you know, God, if I'm doing something wrong, I need you to give me a sign. But all the signs that he provided were just like love and light, and just like really opening my eyes to the fact that we talk about miracles in the Bible. And if you truly believe in miracle and you truly have faith, then this is one of those things. And I still shock myself every time. Like, it's so funny. Like, we had a retreat a few weeks back and I did Reiki. And when I finished, I just spoke what came up for me. And every woman was like, I felt this. Yeah, this hurt, or my third eye was buzzing. And it all like correlated and all was aligned. And it's a reminder for me too, as a healer, like, you are doing the work and it is magical. It can be a little woo-woo for some, but I always say, like, I attract my soul clients. If you belong in this space, then you'll be here. Mm-hmm. And that's what I have to rely on.
Right. And it goes back to kind of like different people need different things.
It's a new year and it's time to set yourself up for a better and brighter year ahead. Everlywell can help you give yourself more clarity, confidence, and well-being with over 30 at-home lab tests. Everlywell at-home lab tests give you physician-reviewed results and personalized insights so you can take action on your health and wellness, all at an affordable and transparent cost. There's over 30 tests, and you'll be able to choose which ones make sense for you. Food sensitivity, metabolism, sleep and stress, thyroid. Those are just a few of the many options. And here's how it works. Everlywell ships your at-home lab test straight to you with everything you need for a simple sample collection. You use the prepared shipping label, mail your test back to the certified lab, and in just days, your physician-reviewed results and actionable insights are sent to your device. And you can share the results with your primary care physician to help guide your next step. There's over 1 million people who have trusted Everlywell with their at-home lab testing. I have used them a couple of times now. For me, the food sensitivity one is always my favorite because I feel like our bodies change, at least mine has in the last couple of years. And I can always tell when my gut is starting to get a little off. I do have sensitivities. So for me, it's nice to know to be informed on what's going on in my body and how I can help support it the best to feel my optimal self. And for only $24.95 a month, the Everlywell Control membership puts your health and wellness in your hands with proactive testing. You can select one qualifying at-home lab test of your choice each month and enjoy membership benefits like exclusive offers, savings, and more. And for the listeners of the show, Everlywell is offering a special discount of 20% off an at-home test at everlywell.com/mamas. That's everlywell.com/mamas for 20% off your at-home lab test. everlywell.com/mamas.
The exact words I was telling my husband last night, because we were talking about, there's a lot of things that, goals that I have, but I very much get in my way. And I've just kind of been in this place of stagnation for quite a while, for like 3-4 years of not having motivation to do the things that I know that I want to do and use the gifts that I know that I've been given to help others, the things that I'm super passionate about. And so he was like, why are you like lacking? Like, is it because you moved here? Because I came from Vegas. Is it since you moved here? Is it since we got married? Where are you missing this inspiration? And I was telling him, like, I miss, like, for me, it's like such a combination of things. I feel like my spiritual life has lacked, and we're just now starting to like get back to going to church, which very much is like one thing that fills my cup. And then when I lived in Vegas, another thing that really filled my cup was connecting with nature. My friend and I would go for barefoot walks in the park, moonlight walks. We would write things down and burn them and like things like that. And I'm like, I haven't done any of that in at least 4 years. But also where I live now, you can't really go for midnight walks in the park. It's not safe. My husband will not allow me to go. Because when I first moved here, I moved downtown Chicago, and he was like, you cannot go for jogs at midnight anymore. You cannot go for a walk in the park at midnight anymore by yourself. Like, this isn't Vegas. So I'm like, I need to make time for myself to like, I don't know. I told him, I'm like, I need to meet a friend here that's like, let's go for a hike today. I don't have anyone here who enjoys those things or who wants to like get weird with me. So I'm like, I need to find those people who are like, yeah, sure, we can go burn things. It's fine. And I haven't found that
yet. Come to a full moon circle. We'll burn stuff together.
Yes, for sure.
So that's like what we used to do. Sometimes I'd go by myself. And the thing is, I feel like you said, it can be like really woo-woo for some people. But when I used to go, like, even by myself and sit in the full moon, like, at the park, I would put on worship music because to me, that's, like, how I connected. And I would just write down all the things that I needed to release. And burning them was just very symbolic of, okay, God, I'm giving this to you. I'm completely releasing this. And so it doesn't have to be, like, people think you make it what you want, I guess, or what you need.
Yes, I totally agree. It goes back to what Victoria said. Like, we want to make sure that you're finding something that fits for you. And like, don't judge yourself if Reiki isn't for you. Maybe breath work is. If breath work isn't for you, then maybe sound healing is. But we offer so many things. And even if the 4 things that we offer, if it doesn't work, we have workshops and things that usually fit with someone. But what I will say, Elizabeth, is like, if you join one of our full moon circles, more than likely you'll find somebody from Chicago who can go on those walks with you. It's just crazy, like the people that we bring together from like all over the world. It's just, I'm blown away because I'm like, wait, you live where and how did you find us? That type of thing. But yeah, I think, go for that walk. Maybe not at midnight. You'll be surprised who you run into. Like,
right.
It's a little bit warmer.
Right. I know. Well, and that was the thing too. I'm like, in Vegas, when it's 110 out, you can't go, you have to go at midnight. Like, that's the only time you can go. So yeah, I would love to talk about then breath work, Victoria, because I feel like I'm one of those people that has like tried everything once. So I actually did breath work once in Bali, and it was a crazy story. I used to backpack by myself. I was on this long walk. This guy drives by in a moped, and he's like, do you want to ride? I was like, sure. I hop on the back of his moped. He ends up being a breath worker. He takes me to like his area where all these people like share living. He does some breath work with me. Then he gives me a ride into town, and I like never see him again. So it was a super interesting experience. And I remember doing the breathing stuff with him, and then he like pushed on my shoulder, like this certain spot on my shoulder. And it was extremely painful. And he was like barely touching me, but like I felt like all this pain was released, and I was breathing, and then I feel like I passed out almost. It was like a weird experience, but it was actually really cool. So that was like my only breath work experience. But I don't know much about it. I just had some random stranger in Bali.
But I love it. He was like your angel that came, and like you needed that. So breathwork can be as simple or as complicated as you want. I just found breathwork, honestly, within the last 2 years. So I had a miscarriage in 2018, and that's how I found the Akashic Records. So that's what brought me kind of first into the spiritual space. And the Akashic Records are really just an energetic frequency that anyone can access. So I teach moms how to access their own records, because it's the wisdom and guidance that you need right there in the moment. And sometimes when it's coming from something higher than yourself, you're a little more apt to believe it than if you just thought it, right? Like you're kind of being guided to this wisdom. But you add in breathwork with that. And I found it so powerful because there's so many different types of breath work. And it can be as simple as literally just inhaling and exhaling when your kid is having a tantrum, you're having a moment, like placing your hands on your heart space and just deeply inhaling through your nose, filling your belly, and then exhaling through the mouth. The mind is really connected to the breath. If you are holding the breath, you are often holding thoughts in your mind. And so for me, I had a lot of postpartum anxiety after my son was born. And this has really helped me release a lot of that and get out of my own head and get out of my own way. So I teach specific breath works for tapping into your intuition, for just moving your energy, for connecting to something higher than yourself, to receive messages. Literally, there's like a breath work for everything. We're actually doing one called Fists of Anger in part of the community right now, because all of the mamas need anger to release. And it makes you instantly feel better. I think that's what I really enjoy about it, is that you feel the results in a matter of 3 minutes. Mm-hmm. And you don't know how often you're not really breathing throughout the day, or you're not breathing fully, right? I mean, when was the last time, we were just talking about you feeling like you were short of breath. Like, when was the last time you got a full belly breath in and sighed it out? Your whole body probably would sigh with you. And we just live in such an aroused state in our society. We're intaking information literally every second of every day. And so our nervous system is in fight or flight mode constantly. And the only way that you can truly heal is if you've activated your parasympathetic nervous system and relaxed. And that's what allows you to release a lot of these traumas, because we carry every single trauma we've ever experienced in our bodies, small or big, right? Like, I tell this story to my husband all the time of this little girl on the playground in elementary school that told me that I thought I was all that. And it really affected me. Like, I probably did think I was all that, but it was fine. And then this little girl told me that, and I was like, oh, should I not be that way? Should I not act like that? And it really affected me. And I carried that with me until, gosh, probably a year ago, I was able to release it. And so through the breath, you're dissolving those emotions, or what Eckhart Tolle calls the pain body. And you can literally feel lighter after doing some of this work. And I feel like it makes it really easy to journal afterwards. Journaling is one of my favorite ways to get all of those kind of emotions and feelings out on paper. And it's really changed my life for the better. And we use breath work in part of every single circle that we have, because it really brings you into presence, right? It doesn't matter what was happening before that moment or what happens after. It brings you into this state of, complete presence with yourself, with your breath. Your breath is your life force. So connecting with that deeply connects you to everything else around you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My husband tells me all the time that I don't breathe. And it's true. Like, even when I'm not this pregnant, he's like, when you have a conversation, you don't breathe while you're talking. You go, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, I don't know how to breathe. And he, even like working out, like when I used to like have a trainer or whatever, they'd be like, breathe while you're working out. Like, I forget to breathe. And then I'm like, and I like gasp.
Most
for air.
people honestly forget. And it is, the autonomic nervous system, it's happening automatically, but you can support yourself so much more by allowing that deep breathing. Because as Tiffany's moving your energy with Reiki, you're moving your own energy up and down your spinal column and through your chakras as well. And you're able to clear some of that stagnation yourself, especially if there's a day that you're like, I just feel really icky and I don't know why. You can sit and do a 3-minute breath work, and it's going to move that energy enough for you that you're going to feel better. And you're either going to want to sit and do more breath work, or you can get up and go about your day. And that ickiness is kind of subsided.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The interesting thing about Reiki and breath work, though, is that there's like scientific research behind both as well. And like studies that have been done that have shown the benefits of both, which is really cool. So despite whether people think it's like woo-woo or not, it's been shown to have positive benefits for people. So that's cool.
Exactly. And, we hear all the time that mamas are like, I'm too busy to meditate. I don't have time. Like, I don't want to sit. That's for, yogis on mountaintops. And I think breath work helped me realize that I can meditate for longer than I thought, because I can't sit in stillness. I'm not one of those people that can just sit there and meditate. I've got to get the breath. That's Tiffany. Tiffany can go right into it and be fine. I need to like move my body or breathe or walk or something before I try and sit in stillness. And it just truly calms the mind, for sure.
Mm-hmm. We're going to take a quick break. It's a new year, which means you might have to renew your finances and go through them. Do you know why that there's free trials that renew without your consent? It's a business scam to get money from you. Don't let greedy corporations pocket your money. Download Truebill and take control of your subscriptions. Truebill is the new app that helps you identify and stop paying for subscriptions that you don't need, want, or simply forgot about. On average, people save up to $720 a year with Truebill. Because companies make subscriptions hard to cancel, Truebill makes it incredibly simple. You just link your accounts and they will cancel your unwanted subscriptions with just one tap. And your Truebill concierge is there when you need them to cancel unwanted subscriptions, so you don't have to deal with it. I love it. I got scammed into one of those things. I don't know how, but like a couple years ago, I signed up for this magazine for like a food and wine and a travel magazine for like $1 for the year. But then after that, they charge you $40 each subscription for the year. And I didn't even know. I went on my way just paying $80 a year in these subscriptions, which I obviously would have canceled if I knew that I was paying for them. And Truebill helped me see that and made it super, super easy. Truebill has over 2 million users and has helped them save over $100 million. Like Matthew B., who says, in a matter of seconds, I saved $660 for the year on my DirecTV bill, saved $120 for the year on my SiriusXM bill, and saved $840 a year on car insurance. So don't fall for subscription scams. Start canceling today at truebill.com/mamas. Go right now, truebill.com/mamas. It could save you thousands a year. Truebill.com/mamas.
So I'd love to talk about how, I guess, you started to grow your community. How did you two come together? And then how did you start to grow this community that you've created?
Okay, so I'll start. So Victoria and I worked together in corporate many years back. And I was the girl that everyone came to be like, hey, Tiff, I had this dream. Can you help me dissect it, right? Because I'm a dreamer. So if you come to me with your dream, more than likely I can help you figure out what it was about. And so fast forward, we were on a business trip to New Mexico. Very, very lovely spiritual place. Mm-hmm. And Victoria and I, we were in the same group, and Victoria can go into more detail, but in a nutshell, we were in a museum and she started channeling her grandfather, but she thought it was a panic attack. So I, who was not a Reiki master at that point, was just getting Reiki every month, was like, well, let me do Reiki on you. Your heart is beating fast. Whatever. At the same time, I knew that her grandfather was channeling through her. And so I kind of told her that without any hesitation, which was crazy because on this trip, God really showed me that I could kind of tap into my sixth sense a little more. So through the whole trip, I was giving people downloads and messages. And I'm sitting there when I'm speaking, what am I saying? And where is this coming from? But fast forward, we both left that job. We had this amazing experience together. Victoria was totally in the spiritual closet, did not want to have anything to do with anything, Akashic, meditation, anything, right? Nothing is I'll come to you or go to someone else, but this is not for me. So when she got pregnant, the first time she had a miscarriage, we were still friends. After the miscarriage, I gave her a Reiki session. We kind of kept in touch. During that time, she also received her Akashic certification. So now she's kind of dipping more into the spiritual realm of things. And then we get pregnant at the same time. So Lennox is about 6 to 8 months older than Sebastian. And so during this time, I think I had just had Lennox. I go over to her house to visit her right after Sebastian was born. And we're in this whole space of well, how do we share our gifts with other moms? Because and also at the same time, make sure our boys are being raised in a conscious environment so that they never forget their true power. And then she's breastfeeding and I think you called me, Victoria, and you were like, yeah, we should totally do it. And I was like, what about Spirit Mamas? While she's still nursing, she Googled Spirit Mamas. The name is available. And then we just signed up, grabbed the name, created a website. All this happened in a week, right? And I'm like, what the hell are we doing? And at the time we were just okay, I'll offer my personal services. I'll do Reiki, you do Akashic readings. And then from there, it was we built this community of women. We started offering our full moon circles. We do this powerful course called Healing the Mother Wound. So we're helping mamas and women really tap into ancestral trauma that we don't even realize that we have. And just holding this space for women. So I feel it went full force. It was we started on a Tuesday, and by Thursday it was we have a business day, we need a website, and I'm sitting here wait, what's happening? What's going on? But we just feel like we're soulmates when it comes to like doing this business. Like the fact that we met when working in corporate, nothing to do with Spirit Mamas at all. And then fast forward like 5-6 years later, maybe, we have this amazing business where we still have our corporate jobs, and we're working on this to kind of get away from them. But it's really about the fact that Victoria and I both knew that we needed to hold space, not only for ourselves, but for other moms who really were on this journey with us. And we could not only help them, but they could help us as well. I feel like I kind of like word vomited, but...
But I think we grew the community really organically, and it's still growing really organically. So, I mean, you know, COVID put everyone online in 2020. And so that was amazing for us to be able to hold these virtual spaces for women. And once we started holding the full moon circles, we realized that when women come together, we're really freaking powerful, and that there is a lot that, we're holding on to, or that we don't share with others. And so at first it started, I think a lot of people were like, well, I'm not going to see this other lady in my real life, so I can act like myself, right? And I don't have to worry about being judged, or, you know, that she's going to go back and say something to my boss, or any of that kind of stuff. And now the women are just so authentically vulnerable that it sparks that vulnerability in others. And it feels like a truly safe space, because it is. We want every woman that comes to anything that we create to know that they can show up 100% themselves, and they're not going to be judged, and that they're welcome in any phase of what they're in. And we follow the cycles of the moon because our energy ebbs and flows in those cycles, right? So it's really important to us to honor that, and to even share with others, like, what's the universal kind of energy that's happening, because that really affects you as well. And we're in a cyclical world, right, in nature. And so as part of our membership community, we have events around the different lunar cycles, but also around what's happening energetically, so that you can be really supported. Because yes, you have your own internal energy, but women and everyone honestly is really affected around the energy in the collective as well. Right. And that's been really tumultuous the last couple of years. And so, I mean, thankfully for online and the communities that we're a part of, I think Tiffany and I are both part of some amazing communities that we just came and shared what we were doing, and people found a need for it and was like, wow, I wish you guys had started this sooner, or were able to spread the word to their mom friends and their mom friends. Word of mouth, I think, honestly, is how we've really been able to grow the most. Like, we don't do any paid advertising or anything like that. And we offer a free full moon circle to anyone that signs up as part of just our email list. And we're going to give a free full moon circle to any of the listeners here to come join us, because we believe that much in helping you feel good. Because if you don't feel good, no one else around you is going to feel good.
Yeah. Well, I'll definitely have to check it out.
Yay.
I know that, so you brought up like kind of the energy of the world. And I remember hearing a couple months ago, this guy saying that what we take in online in the first 5 minutes of our day is the same as our grandparents did in like 2 or 3 months through the news. So we aren't meant to absorb all of this information that is going on. I think it's great to be aware, but also you have to protect your space. Like, do you really need to be aware of every single thing that's happening around the world? Because I truly believe one thing that I'm coming more and more to is that the work begins in the home. Like, yeah, it's great to know like what's happening over there. I get that. But if you don't have your house in order, nothing else matters.
I totally agree. And so one thing that I do is, before I get out my bed, like, I don't believe in like turning over and turning on my cell phone. The TV for the most part is on kitty stuff around the house. So we don't watch the news. If I do catch up on the news, it's because somehow this phone has turned on and it goes to CNN or something crazy. But when I first wake up, I like to lay there and kind of breathe into my space. And even if my child is in the bed with me, which is most mornings, I'm like, okay, just lay there for a minute and I try to be quiet. But I'm all about affirmations. So when I get up out of my space, I go straight to my mirror and I look at myself in the mirror and I write out exactly what I want my affirmations to be for that day or week, or I speak right into myself in the mirror and I speak love, light, ambition, anything I need into my space. And now my kids, like my oldest, Logan, he loves doing his affirmations. If he's having a bad day, actually on the way to school, he's like, Mom, I think we need to say them. And he'll say, I am whatever he wants to be that day. And so it's become a practice in our home where like in the morning, we're going to no TV. We're going to sit down. We're going to eat breakfast together. We're going to talk. We're going to laugh, even in a small time frame during the week. But it's really like, why bring all that energy into your space, right? Like you are what you eat. You are what you see. You are what you hear. And so it's really about what you want to allow into your parameters. And for me in our house, it's like, if it's not Teletubbies or Coco Melon, usually it's nothing else, right? So and then we play music a lot. But I agree with you, Elizabeth. It's like, why should we be connected to all of that when we have stuff to do at home? So I love that you said that.
Yeah, we don't watch the news really either, but I end up seeing things on like Instagram or here or there. That is one thing that I'm trying to work on, because for me, it's all also distraction from like my own stuff that I need to work on. Instead of, so my husband last night, was asking me, why aren't you feeling inspired? All these different things. So we made an agreement that, cause sometimes we're in a really bad habit, both of us, of like watching our iPads or our phones, or whether it's like Christmas movies. He loves comedy, so he watches a lot of comedy things, or listens to podcasts, and I listen to podcasts, or I'm watching like a mindless show or like a Christmas movie right now. But we'll even bring it like in the shower with us, like watch it while we're showering. It's like all the time. So last night he was like, okay, no phones in the shower. And I told him, I'm like, no, I'm going to do like no iPad or phone during Jovi's nap time. Because if I'm using it for work, if I'm setting aside time to actually be productive with work, that's one thing, but it's just a distraction. Like even the other day, like, let's say like before the podcast, I like wanted to look up Spirit Mamas on Instagram and just like look at your guys' Instagram or whatever. I would go to Instagram, be on there for 10 minutes, completely forget what I'm doing, get off and be like, oh, I didn't even look at Spirit Mamas, and then like get back on. And it's like, it can be such a great tool if it's used intentionally. But it's also such a distraction and can bring so much comparison or just suck your energy. So, that's like one thing that I'm trying to work on, because I've realized when I'm not filling my cup, I'm also continually distracting myself, when there could be times where I could be sitting and listening to music and journaling and doing the things that I used to do that made me feel good. Instead, I'd pop on a movie and just veg. So trying to be intentional.
It's easier, right?
It is way easier.
It's natural, but I think we all innately are a little afraid to sit with ourselves in the quiet, right? Because then what's it going to bring up? What are we going to have to see about ourselves that we maybe don't like? And I think that energy hygiene is so important, because everything is energy. Your energy, the computer's energy, the Instagram feed that you're looking at is energy. And if you're wanting to protect the energy in your home, it comes down to little stuff like that too, right? I mean, Tiffany and I, that's part of, I think, a foundation of what we do is energy clearing, because energy gets stuck like in a nasty like drain where all your hair gets clogged after months and months and months. That's what happens to your energy if you're not actively like moving it or clearing it. And the energy in your home as well. Like I clear the energy in my home on a regular basis, because it can get really built up and really gunky. And it's one of those you have to come back to again and again, right? Like it is easy to be tired and want to watch Netflix, but if you notice how you feel after sitting and vegging and watching Netflix versus maybe sitting and journaling or sitting and going, out for a walk in nature or anything, you're going to feel better after you do the journaling or the walk in nature. Mm-hmm. And I think little by little, as you start to like retrain yourself, we don't even turn TV on in the evenings anymore. And that's just because I've gotten to a point where I know my energy is going to feel better reading a book or journaling or meditating. But it takes a while to get there, and you have to like reset yourself, right? Because life happens. Like that's another thing I think that we love about our community is showing up perfectly imperfect. None of us are perfect. Tiffany and I aren't perfect either. Like we do stuff all the time that we've got to like come back to remind ourselves, like it's a practice for a reason. And so it's totally okay if all of your habits are out of whack. You can just take little steps like you guys did last night to start getting them back on track.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think it was September, or maybe it was October. No, it wasn't October. Maybe in September, we did a challenge because my husband and I have a podcast too. And we did a challenge on there of no technology after 7 p.m. So no phones, no iPads, no TV, no anything. And it was actually really great. And we were talking about how awesome it was, how we wanted to continue it. And I'm always telling myself I don't have time to read anymore. And I'm like, well, guess what? I read. I do have time. I just don't make it. But it just is funny how quickly, like over the last few months, we've gotten back to watching our phones or the iPad or whatever, like just kind of going back to that. And then that even cuts into like our intentional time together at night, when he's home from work. So I know we definitely need to be more intentional about it. I want to talk about ancestral trauma really quick because I had a guest on, I don't remember, it was a year or two ago, who wrote a book, It Didn't Start With You, and Mark Wolin. And he talked about how they can show how trauma like manifests itself to the third generation, like genetically. Like you can scientifically prove that. And that is so interesting to me. And I feel like in the motherhood world, that's like so important because we all come from different backgrounds. And like my mom's mom was a first generation Swedish woman here, and settled in like South Dakota, and just like the different things that they went through or their different lives that they had, is very interesting. So, I'd kind of love to talk about a little bit of ancestral trauma or like how to clear that or how that could even affect maybe the birthing space.
Oh, absolutely. So this always blows my mind to think about. You were inside your grandmother,
right,
when your mom was, being incubated inside of her. Like, so any trauma or things that she felt energetically, energy isn't created or destroyed. It's still there. So you could be carrying energy from your grandmother today that you don't even know is yours. That anger that keeps coming out for you, it may not even be yours. Mm-hmm. It may be hers. And so the work that we do as part of our Healing the Mother Wound Ceremonial Circle is through all the lower chakras. So we start at the root and go all the way up to the heart because, as you mentioned earlier, women, we carry so much trauma in our hips. It's stored there, and we don't move them as often as we really should to kind of release any of that. Even doing something as simple as like Sufi grinds or hip circles can really get things moving. And we talk about birth stories as part of Healing the Mother Wound as well, because you may not even realize that the trauma of your birth or your mother's birth, again, is something that's with you. And so we call in all of our healed ancestors to work with us during the ceremonial space because they have the right energy to help us clear and move forward. And it's always interesting to see that first week, we call like everyone's ancestors forward. And then when we ask for just the healed ancestors to stay, most of the women in the circle are surprised that they're like, only 2 stayed, like the rest said bye. And it's just because the previous generations didn't know about some of this work, right? Like this is still, I think, so new and maybe very woo-woo for people. But focusing on it and talking about it is what can really, truly release it. Tiff, I know you've got stuff to add on that.
Yes, so it's crazy. When I first have people come to me, the first chakra that vibrates really, really high is the root. And the root is the area the chakra that holds all of that ancestral stuff. Past relationships, your mom's past relationships, your grandmother's past relationships. It all sits there. So I like to tell people, so like, have like generations that have always dealt with sexual abuse or poverty. It's just like a cycle. And what I'm doing with Reiki is I'm cutting those cords. So I can feel the cord, and sometimes they're really strong. And so it can't be done in one session. But a lot of times that root chakra for me, and what I feel is huge vibration, and not in a good way. And what I'm doing is I'm kind of going in and I'm cutting those cords that you have connected to your ancestors that no longer serve you. And like I said, it can't happen in one session. You may feel better, but what I've seen is that people literally change their lives when they start cutting those ancestral traumas. Once they address those, once they kind of go through that inner work, that inner child, they look back at the inner child, which Victoria mentioned, we're all working on in our group right now, and kind of like facing that head on so that you don't carry it on to your children or throughout your day-to-day anymore. So it is amazing how, generations and how we really, in this present moment, have to kind of take a look and do the work so that we can clear out that energy that wasn't truly ours, but that we're just holding space for.
Mm-hmm. And doing the work now helps past and future generations. I truly believe that, because when we first started healing the mother wound, my mom, out of the blue, like mid doing that ceremonial circle, became really interested in getting Akashic readings from me and wanting to do the own inner work herself when she had zero interest previously. And so it really felt like my deep healing started to kind of trigger something in her on like a level that I still don't even really understand. But to see it happen in real time made me a believer that you are affecting the past and the future. I know that this baby that I'm carrying now is asking me to do a lot of deep healing. Mm-hmm. And there's been a lot of stuff coming up for me that I am really surprised by, but it's because she's here to teach me that. And she's here to push me because she doesn't want to carry it. And she doesn't want me to carry it anymore either. Mm-hmm. So it is a little bit, I think, for those that this is all really new to, a bit of dispelling or just letting yourself believe a little bit in fantasy, to be quite honest, because there is no tangible thing that you can really hold on to until you see the magic work in your own life and see the changes that come about from doing this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. And I definitely agree. I feel like the work we do does affect our children. I don't want my kids to carry the weight of things that I have. And so that's my job to help change that, which again is hard. Like, you don't want to sit in silence with your thoughts. You don't want to sit and like see the things that come up for you. So it's so much easier to kind of distract or even get caught up in this mom culture of, I need it, the mommy wine culture. Like, I drink because I have kids and all of this stuff. But actually like doing the work and healing. So that's really awesome. I love what you guys are doing. Where can people find your community? Where can they access the free full moon circle? Where can they learn more and connect with you?
Yeah. So we're just at spiritmamas.com. You can sign up we have free meditations that we share on our website. You can sign up for a full moon circle just using the code FREE, FREE, and we'll share that link so that you guys have it in the show notes. On Instagram, we're spirit.mamas, and we share a lot of rituals and information there. We want that to be an educational resource for you of what some of this energy work is, what the heck is the Akashic Records, all of that kind of stuff. We love meeting new folks. So please give us a follow, send us a DM. We're here to answer any questions that you may have, and join the community. We're growing every single day, and we're just so honored that we can do this work and that we're trusted to do this work with so many women across the globe. And we're just really thankful.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. And I just want to encourage people listening. I know that everybody has different spiritual beliefs. Not everything's for everybody. But you also never know. Like me, like I said, I grew up in the church, similar to what you were saying, Tiffany. And my relationship with God and my spiritual beliefs are still a big part of my life. And one thing I did to fill my cup this last year was I joined this women's Bible study that was awesome. It was really good for me. But there are also other things that I feel like I need to do, and other ways that I connect with God. So, it might be something that works for you. So definitely, go to their website, read about it, check it out. And I just want to thank you so much for coming on here and sharing what you do, your time, your energy, and your space with us today.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
I hope you enjoyed the episode. I definitely learned some new stuff on there. I hope you did as well. Like I said at the beginning, there's so many different paths that people take to finding peace, healing, whatever that they're searching for. And these are just a couple of those paths. I thought it was very interesting to talk with Victoria and Tiffany and see how they got into this and what they're doing. So make sure you check out the Spirit Mamas. I have the links in the show notes to check it all out. All right, guys, we are going to sign off for this episode. As you can tell, I'm having a hard time breathing. I'm sorry if I'm breathing heavy into the microphone. It's I'm just coughing and just sound yucky. So I won't make you listen to my voice any longer. Can't wait to share with you guys the next couple weeks that are coming. Make sure that you write in, let me know who you want to have on, what you want to hear. And we love you guys so much. Thank you for being on this journey with us. We're looking forward to another exciting year with you. And again, we just love and appreciate you so much. All right. Have a good week. Bye.
If you want to be the most interesting person at the cocktail party, well, hop on over and listen to the Brain Candy podcast.
Our award-winning content will have you laughing while you're learning.
We read all the best articles, books, and studies and keep up with new TV shows, documentaries, and pop culture. And then we cram it all into 2 shows a week.
Conspiracy theories, cannibal rabbits, unsolved mysteries, the history of the Walkman. There's something for everyone.
The Brain Candy podcast. Find our link in the show notes.
Or simply search for the Brain Candy podcast on your podcast app.